Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today I've got two sets of top 8 deck lists for you from events under Set 5 format. In the last video, we looked at Disney Lorcana Challenge in Toronto, which was Set 4 meta with Bucky Zarata. But that's done now. We are firmly in Set 5. I'm sure a lot of people will have their eyes firmly fixed on the next Disney Lorcana Challenge, the first one with Set 5 being legal, on the 21st and 22nd of September, both in Las Vegas and Birmingham. And of course, people could have, and probably will have, events in between then, winner cases, win enchanted, all that sort of thing. So yeah, it is time to fully commit to Set 5, and we're going to be starting off with two fairly big events. I mentioned when I was covering the deck list for Toronto that there was a side event that took place that was about 48 players. When I recorded that was the only one I knew about, but I've since learned that there were two more even bigger side events over that weekend. On the Sunday, there was a 170 person event and a 142 person event for Set 5 meta. Unfortunately, the deck lists for both of those are not complete. I think both days have about 2 available each on inkdex.com. So I'm going to wait until hopefully the rest of those turn up before we cover those events. But like I said, on the Saturday, for day 1 of Toronto, there was a 48 person event for people that were unable to get tickets to compete in the main event, and again under Set 5 meta, so we're going to be taking a look at them. And then on the 25th, outside of DLC Toronto, over in Italy, there was a 61 player event. Let the law rage on, a win an enchanted Elsa tournament, which is obviously an incredible prize. 61 players, a big amount of data. So we're going to be taking a look at both of those tournaments, and this is super exciting. I'm so happy, guys. Let's just take a moment before we go into the lists to look at the diversity going on here. This is the first event that we'll look at, the 48 player Set 5 side event on day 1 of Toronto. Every single ink combination completely different. No duplicate decks whatsoever, which is absolutely amazing. And then the same is nearly completely true for the second event that we're going to look at, the win an enchanted Elsa event. If you just take a look here, there are 2 SteelSong decks. Other than that, every ink combination completely different. This is a wonderful sign of things to come. And of course, the meta will continue to adapt, but yeah, this is a super good starting point. This feels like it's going to be our best meta since Set 3. So we're going to jump in and take a look at the deck lists. A quick shout out to the channel sponsor, Cardmarket. If you're looking for Lorcana singles at competitive rates, then check out Cardmarket. But let's take a look at some top 8 deck lists. Alright, so starting off with our 48 person side event in Toronto. In first place, we have Andrew with some Ruby Sapphire control. So a lot of the old suspects here. Our item lineup looks pretty standard. We are playing those 3 copies of Ice Cube that you don't always see in the red-blue decks, but the rest of the item package looking similarly the same. But yeah, these ice blocks are going to help get more characters into Brawl range. We've got 3 copies of that into the Daring Visitor Sisu range, which we're running 4 copies of. On play, she banishes a character with 1 strength or less, and she's evasive, so also just a body that if they don't have the evasive answer, then it can just sit there. But preferably it will be shifting into one of the 4 copies of the empowered sibling Sisu that we have, that on play banishes all characters with 2 strength or less. So that's already a lot of the meta, and the ice block is going to help even more characters get into that. And of course, 3 copies of Medusa can also be aided by the ice block. We've got just 2 copies of Be Prepared, which is probably okay with the fact we've got 4 big Sisu and ice block to get more characters into this range. That's probably quite reasonable. Running 1 copy of the new Hideaway along with 2 copies of Kuzco. They both have the main primary effect of putting an item or a location into that player's inkwell. Kuzco obviously then gives you a 3/5 quest for 2 body. It does have a secondary effect where you can pay for and give all your characters resist 1 into the start of your next turn. Not going to be common, not going to be relevant commonly, but I'm telling you, there'll be a day where this absolutely matters in a DLC game, and I can't wait for it. But obviously we're mainly using this for the removal, like the hard removal of some items, especially if you can get rid of those lucky dimes, stop them being brought back by Tamatoas. Running 3 copies of Develop Your Brain and 3 copies of the new Vision of the Future. 2 cost inkable action. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, 1 into your hand and the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So it's just a bigger dig than Develop Your Brain, but for the cost of 2. And I super like this. I've been quite high on the Dig a Little Deeper in the Ruby Sapphire deck, which has mainly been Din that's been playing. I've seen a couple of other players also utilize it, but it's mainly been Din. But Din has top 16, 3 DLCs with that card. So that, if nothing else, is reason to believe. But yeah, this is into the future, being an inkable, only costs 2. Like, digging 5 cards is super good. Help you find the dime when you need it, which is quite often your most important piece. The Sisu, the Be Prepared when you need it, I super like this. We've got 3 Maleficent, 4 Tamatoa, that's more often than not going to be our win condition, getting up to a high lore total, courtesy of all our items in combination with Lucky Dime. 4 Maui for board control, Flavish and Ventalas for the draw, and 4 copies of that Tipo, who on play allows you to put an extra card from your hand into your Inkwell face down and exerted. So an additional way of ramping. We're not playing any Mickeys or one jumper heads. We're all in on Tipo and Fishbone Quill, but that sounds good to me. And the deck looking really nice. I really like the addition of Visions of the Future, and I think 3 Brawl is fine since you're on 4 Sisu and 3 Medusa with the ice block. So yeah, I really like these counts. So congratulations to Andrew. In second place, we have Matt with some Emerald Steel. So people were wondering what would be the fate of this color combination without Bucky. I always said that I thought it would be perfectly fine. In set 3, it was still super good. So it has indeed adjusted, and we've got some real spice in here, some real surprise cards. We're running a 3-4 Diablo line, so we do still have the option to get that online nice and quick, hoping when in earlier stages of the game, some decks are going to be far less likely to necessarily have the answer. And we're running quite a lot of actions here to be able to get that online. 3 copies of Pegasus for an evasive, and 3 copies of the Floodborn. Running a 3-3 Robin Hood. We're running 3 copies of Smee, great stats, 3 copies of Flynn, just to be an aggro character. We're not inherently a discard deck, but discard is still good, and again, it's an inkable body that quests for 2, so you'll have to see it. We're seeing 3 copies of the new Pete to hold off actions, which sounds good in a deck like this where it seems like you're going to want to go wide. 4 copies of Chief Bog, I don't know if it's Bogo or Bogo, I still haven't seen this film. 4 cost uninkable, 2/4 quest for 2, and when you play a Floodborn, deal 1 damage to each opposing character. So this is the new Bucky. This is who we're benefiting from playing Floodborns from, although in Amethyst it's Blue Fairy. But yeah, there are a lot of Floodborns here. Already highlighted the Pegasus and the Robin Hood. We've got 2 Tinks in here, nothing to shift onto. We've got 3 copies of Jafar Dreadnought, 3 copies of that Beast Tragic Hero, and 2 copies of the new Simba, who on play banishes an item or location. No shift target for this, but yeah, lots of Floodborns to hopefully get the Chief Boggo online. And then some Super Spies. We've got 4 copies of the Cheshire Cat, Not All There, from Chapter 1. 3 cost inkable, 0/3 quest for 2, and when this character is challenged and banished, banish the challenging character. So this can help you keep tempo on the board, and here's an aggressive quester. And we're even playing the Floodborn From the Shadows. 8 cost inkable, 5/6 quest for 2, shift 5, evasive, and exerts to banish a chosen damaged character. I was super high on this when it was revealed in Rise of the Floodborn, and I couldn't have been wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong. It did nothing, and it was just so slow and so inconsistent. But hey, the surprise factor of this popping up in set 5, I bet caught people off guard, and even I bet there were people that saw the 3-drop Cheshire Cat and was like, oh, that's a Floodborn for this. What's it do again? I just wouldn't have been sure exactly what was coming. So just a surprise factor, I imagine, made a difference in some matches. But yeah, we do ping damage through Tinkerbell. We're running some songs that do it. Obviously Chief Boggo when we play Floodborns, and then just challenges. So there is some synergy here to get the damage online. And then yeah, our song action package: 2 Baboom to get rid of those Diablos, Flynn Riders, things like that. 3 Storm, 3 Rage, 2 Bruno, 2 copies of Whole New World, and 2 Grab Your Swords. I don't hate although I think a deck always looks the most consistent when it's mostly all 4s and on 2 lines. I see the value in sometimes 2 and 3 obs, based on how often you want to see that card and how quickly you want it to come up in a match. So I do think sometimes there's argument for lower counts of certain things, but I don't know, a lot of 3s, which I suppose isn't the worst thing. The 2 Whole New World throws me off a little bit, but if we're drawing off Diablo and drawing off Beast as our primary way, or even when Jafar challenges, and hey, it took them all the way to second place. 48-person field is not insignificant, and these would have been I don't doubt the skill level of these players just because they were in the side events of day 1. I know a lot of incredible players that weren't able to get tickets for certain events, but if it's close enough to you and you just want to play Lorcana and be part of the event, so I absolutely still fully rate I have no reason to doubt the skill level of these 48 players. I'm sure a couple people were newer, but by and large. So yeah, certainly interesting. So congratulations to Matt. Going into top 4, we have Rolando with some Ruby Amethyst control. A lot of one-offs here. For our one-drops, we're running the 4 Rafiki, 4 Olaf. We are running 2 Crabs, so that gives you nice energy with the Olaf. And the 1/3 body just helps you survive. We're running 3 copies of Teeth as well, which is super good. You just get more longevity out of this 1/3 body, so I like that. Just 1 copy of Kuzco to be an additional 2-drop, but we're running 2 Flynn, the 4 Snake, 2 copies of Pinocchio, Talkative Puppet, who I do kind of rate. And I've been toying with the idea of whether if I want to bring this back as a one-off, just from, you know, SteelSong's doing really well. A lot of Amber, Emerald decks are doing really well. Admittedly, some of their characters have Ward, but you can still offset their singers earlier. You're seeing Merfolks more often, which would be nice to get rid of before the Prince John comes down. I just think there's reasons to contemplate this, so I don't hate this Pinocchio. And yeah, if you've already got 8 2-drops, so just 1 Kuzco. Again, the synergy with the Teeth and Ambitions. We're running 3 Maleficent to hopefully give us a bit more consistency. Only 2 copies of the Emboldened Warrior, so and only 2 copies of Castle, so we are half in on the Flynn Sisu Castle line. 4 Goat, 4 Rabbit, 4 Maui. We got 2/2 Ladies in Red. By the way, I always used to call them Ladies in Red. And then I heard quite a few people call them Ladies in Chairs, and I was like, oh, okay. But something about it didn't quite sit right with me. I was like, why do I feel like there's something wrong with calling them Ladies in Chairs? But I heard so many people saying it, I was like, all right, I'll get on board. I even think I said it while casting. And then across the weekend, when I was watching bits of DLC, it suddenly occurred to me, that's a desk. That's a desk. So for me, they are Ladies in Red. But yeah, a 2/2 count of them. We're also running 1 copy of Beaking Undisputed, 3 B Prep, the 4 Friends, 1 copy of the Sorcerer's Spellbook, which I still don't like personally. It can be good in the mirror, but it can also be really bad in the mirror. And then 1 copy of Maleficent Monstrous Dragon. Yeah, I mean, for my taste, this is a few too many one-offs. As much as I like Kuzco, especially with Teeth, I don't know, like, if you want to play these Pinocchio, I suppose that's probably fine. I think Sisu, Castle, like, even if you just want to play 3 Flynn, I think even outside of that curve, Sisu is just so good. Like, so good, even if it's, like, for staying out of opposing Flynn range. I mean, we've got the Teeth and Ambitions again, so we can deal with it that way. I don't know, I just really rate this Sisu, and again, that's also partly because I'm very high now on also playing the Floodborn, which this deck isn't. But even without it, I super like this Sisu. The 1 Goofy, I respect. Again, surprise factor. I can't remember the name of the player, but they've top cut a couple of DLCs, European ones that I've casted at this point, playing Ruby Amethyst. Like, I think they came 2nd in Bologna. Sorry, no, they came 2nd in Bochum, and then they made top cut in Bologna. I can't remember how far they got. I think maybe top 4 or top 8. But they were playing the random one-off Super Goof, which did very well for them on that day. The Maleficent, I get the temptation. I think, I still don't think you're consistently even getting 2/9 that often, and even if you do, it's often more plausible to one, especially when you've got Pinocchio and you can open up like Pinocchio bounce into Fox or something like that, and you want to tick for Spellbook, and yeah, I don't know. It's a few too many one-offs for me, but full respect, did very well for them, so congratulations. Also in top 4, we've got Chris with some EA Tempo. Just win the game. We're quite heavy discard variant as well. We're running the 4/4 Flynn Folk to be early questers / discard. We are running the 4/4 Diablo line as well, and quite a sizable item package to go with it. The 4 Ursa Deceiver to snipe those songs, and 3 copies of the Floodborn with a great stat line. 4/7 stays out of a lot of removal cards like Zeus and Medusa. Quest for 3, exerting an opposing character on quest, and just shutting your opponent down from exerting to sing songs is like really breaking for a lot of decks. Running 4 copies of Prince John to complement all this discard that we're running and draw cards all the while. 2 copies of that Lucifer Cunning Cat. 1 copy of Hypnotize is the one-off. 4 Sudden Chill. We are running the 4 Ursa Deceiver of All to double sing songs, so double Sudden Chill or double Friends on the other side, or double Mother Knows Best is also an option. 3 copies of the New You're Welcome to shuffle chosen character, item, or location into their player's deck, and that player draws 2 cards. This can just be hard removal for certain characters that your opponent has that just you need to get rid of, like things like Tamatoa, things like Cinderella Stout-Hearted we could potentially deal with. We are running one copy of We Don't Talk About Bruno, so that's another way of doing it. But the diversity of your welcome to be able to shuffle in one of your own characters when you want to for the card draw. Just 2 copies of the Queen's Castle. A little bit of a surprise to not see the library in here. I do think it's worth it in EA tempo because I think you're just so much lower to the ground. But just two castle in this, and then 2 copies of Lyle Tiberius Rock. Every time. I'm so high on Lyle and Jack. 3 cost uninkable, 2/4, quest for 1. On play, give a character reckless, and whenever one of your other characters is banished, your opponent loses 1 lore, which is super good into like daisies, anything. Like, again, they can sing potentially to shut you down, to get out of reckless. But not if you've got Sea Witch Queen on the board. 2 Cricky as well to also give us more odds that we can have an out of nowhere challenging turn, churning some of these smaller bodies like Diablo and Ursula, things like that, into harder hitting characters. But yeah, this looks super good. Congratulations to Chris. Next up in top 8, we've got Jeffrey with that Lemon and Lime, that Amber Emerald Under the Sea deck, which obviously under set 4 meta, but recently won DLC Toronto. I don't think this deck's going anywhere. I think this is super strong, especially since Bucky disappeared. So yeah, we're based around Under the Sea, 8 cost, uninkable, sing together 8. Puts all opposing characters with 2 strength or less at the bottom of their deck in any order, which sometimes could be better than banishing. Again, some cards care about being banished or having things in the discard. Great Stone Dragon or Chernabog, things like that. But the odds are if you put the cards on the bottom of the deck, they're not seeing them again for the rest of the game more often than not. So characters already fit into this range, same as Big Sisu. We've got 3 Paints in the Roses red that can lower 2 characters' strength by 1, and 3 copies of Kida, who on play lowers the strength of all characters by 3, which is getting the vast majority of things into range of this. Running a 2/2 Queen line to this can be an effective singer, give us a bit of board control. No copies of the World's Greatest Criminal Mind, but I think World's Greatest Criminal Mind is a good shout, but I think it's fine to also not play. We're running a 4/4 Diablo line, a big action package to hopefully get that online. 2 copies of Sir Hiss, who can sing a lot of these songs, and because he's evasive, quite often he just sits there. The 4 Ursula to take away those songs. 4 copies of the Muses, who also bounces characters of 2 strength or less whenever you play a song, which can give you some more board tempo if you don't need the Under the Sea or don't have it. And nice synergy with Paint in the Roses. You can play Paint in the Roses red and lower something from 3 to 2, and then trigger Muses, and it will return that card to their hand. 4 bare necessities to snipe those Be Prepared and those Grab Your Swords that we can be super weak to. The 4 Sudden Chill. 3 You Have Forgotten Me. 2 You're Welcome. 3 We Don't Talk About Bruno, and 2 copies of that Hidden Cove, which I love in this. Well, I hate it from a perspective of, like, I'm not sure I would ever play this, but I know I'm going to lose to it, and I feel like it's going to be because of this Cove, because, yeah, just keeping Diablo out of Brawl, it can be pretty big, and again, the whole character lineup can benefit and stay out of the range of certain things. So yeah, it looks like a super good deck. Congratulations to Jeffrey. Next up in top 8, we've got Hillary with some SteelSong, which I think is the best performing deck for set 5 meta so far. A week or 2 before the DLCs in Vegas and Birmingham, I'm gonna break this down a little bit more, go through all the deck lists I've covered, and kind of get some more specific data as to like how many of each deck we're seeing and how common certain counts are, things like that. But yeah, SteelSong looking real good. We're not a flute variant. We're playing 4 copies of Ursula Vanessa with that Singer 4, but that's still fine, just for easy access to Zeus, Storm, Strength of a Raging Fire, Bear, and the World's Greatest Criminal Mind. Running 2 copies of Piglet, Pooh Pirate Captain to be an additional aggro character. We've got a 4/4 Queen line to be our primary singer. We're not running a Robin Hood line here, so that's off the table, but this Queen line can do it, and of course Ariel herself being Singer 5 can get the job done. 4 copies of the Ballroom Sensation Cinderella. No Stout-Hearted in here, but she's great in and of herself for singing songs. We are running 2 copies of the Sonic Warrior, who whenever you play a song you can pay 2 to do 3 damage to a character, so that's super useful. And outside of red decks, then she's proper hard to remove with that 3/8 stat line. Another way that we can, I mean, you can already sing Whole New World with Ariel, but you can shift her and do it that way if you want to also do the the 3 damage if you pay an additional 2. Running 4 copies of Lawrence, help us against Flynn Riders. Just a bigger body to go into things like castles and opposing bigger bodies and questing for 2, super good. 4 Rapunzel for additional draw. 2 Benja for item removal for those lucky dimes. Those Sleepy's Flutes are popping up quite a lot at the moment as well. 4 Smee for great stats, and 4 copies of that aggressive Daisy Duck. 1 cost uninkable, 1/4 quest for 2, and on quest, your opponent looks at the top card of their deck. If it's a character, add it to their hand. If not, put it on the bottom of their deck. So yeah, enough. And World's Greatest Criminal Mind, 2 copies. Great synergy with the Queen. Yeah, a little bit of a surprise not to see the Robin Hood line in here as well as the Queen line. And more often than not, you see either the Piglets or the Ursulas. I don't hate including both, but yeah, I still think Robin Hood is very good. I mean, so many of your characters already fall to red decks. Well, not fall, but, well, yeah, they get targeted by Medusas. Sorry, they get exerted by Ratigans, is what we've agreed on. But hey, they can't always have it, and, like, the best way to lose is to do nothing. Sometimes you just got to play into stuff. But yeah, SteelSong looking super strong, so congratulations to Hillary. And finally, in top 8, look at this. We've got Kelly with some Amethyst Steel Brooms. My God, bad gold, Mackle. Alright, so let's look at this Broom package. We're running 4 copies of the Luminary Keeper, who we know and love from a lot of Amethyst decks anyway. Great turn 1 drop, great card draw, just thinning out the deck. You love to see it. We're running 4 copies of the Aerial Cleaner, 2 cost inkable, 2/3 quests for 1, and you get evasive during your turn for getting rid of Diablos, as long as they're not at the Cove. We are running 4 copies of the Industrial Model, 3 cost inkable, 2/3 quests for 1, and on play, chosen character gains resist 1 until the start of your next turn. And we're also playing 2 copies of the Swift Cleaner, 5 cost uninkable, 4/4 quest for 2 rush, and when you play this character you may shuffle all brooms from your discard into your deck. We're not playing the location that cares, the Sorcerer's Tower that cares about brooms, but we are playing 4 copies of Yen Sid, 2 cost inkable, 1/3 quest for 1. On play, if you have a magic broom in play, you draw a card, and while you have 2 or more brooms in play, he gets +2 and ends up questing for 3. I mean, hey, if you want to run magic brooms, this is probably the best way to do it. Unfortunately, the Sorcerer's Tower is just super mid compared to Queen's Castle, and the library's super good in this. This Yen Sid as a turn 2 draw 1 on play is not bad at all. Like, I've seen a couple of Ruby Amethyst decks that have jammed this just along, like, 2 to 4 copies along with just the 4 Illuminary Keeper, because Illuminary Keeper into Yen Sid is pretty good. Like, it's not awful by any means, and the potential to quest for 3. Obviously, we've got 8 other inkable brooms, the 2 and the 3 cost, and then this uninkable costing 5 is all right. It's got rush. The stat line's not awful. It quests for 2. Yeah, I mean, is it probably the most optimal way to run Amethyst Steel of all its ways? Probably not. Does that mean it's bad? Heck no. I think there's a lot of reason absolutely to run the Yen Sid. The Magic Broom again can help you with Diablo. So yeah, love the spice. 2 copies of the new Cogsworth, who gives a character rush on play. 4 Captain Hook to be another 1 drop and help you with big bodies and locations. For the bounce package, 4 Snake, 4 Fox, 2 Goat, and 2 Rabbits. 1 copy of LeFou from set 4, 3 cost inkable, 2/3 quest for 1, and you can play him for free if an opposing character was banished in a challenge this turn. 4 copies of Pete to shut down those actions, and then 4 Friends, 4 Storm, 1 Smash, 3 Strength, 2 Zeus, and then 3 Library, 2 Queen's Castle. Yeah, I mean, if you want to play a Broom deck, this looks like the most the best way to play a Broom deck if you're going for, like, as optimal and as meta as you can get. I still think there's probably a reason to find room for at least the 3rd Rabbit, but again, Yen Sid drawing cards all the way. Maybe you don't need it. And again, I'm not always a huge fan of 4 Storm when you don't have shift lines or singers. But the LeFous here, these Magic Brooms, like you have thickened out your 3 slot a little bit. I'd probably go down to 3 Storm and go to the 3rd Rabbit. That's the first big change I think I'd make. But other than that, it looks super good. Looks a lot of fun. I love to see it. Congratulations to Kelly. And finally, in top 8, we have Adam with that big bad Hyper Aggro that has been the boogeyman of set 5 so far, but has basically not appeared once in any Top Cut deck list. I don't think. There's probably one somewhere that I've missed, but by and large, Aggro ain't been here, but I'm sure Adam still ran into a lot of early sighs from people when they realised they were playing against aggro, and they probably weren't ready for it, because if you're not ready for aggro, you will absolutely lose to it. We got the 4 copies of Daisy Duck, we got 4 Lilo and 4 Biding Her Time Maleficent to be aggressive questers, 3 Pascal as well to be another evasive quester, 3 Chernabog and 4 Magic Broom for some consistency and draw, tons of 1-drops, not just to like make sure that we have a 1-drop, but just mean that if against slower decks, we can just play more characters on turns 2, 3 and 4 and just really overwhelm. 4 copies of Pooh Pirate Captain, we've got those 4 Simba, 4 copies of Simba that if players are like kind of built their decks to be able to deal with Daisy as quick as possible, then this Simba can really put a wrench in their plans. We've got 4 Snake and 4 Fox, 4 Goat, no rabbits in here, 4 Baloo to be a bodyguard and represents 2 lore when removed, and 4 Donald Duck, who is also a bodyguard and gives an extra lore pip to a character on play. 4 Befuddle, not only for the mirror, but to get rid of those, break those shift lines, stop them necessarily being able to deal with the Lilo, the Maleficent Daisy. Like the first 4 or 5 turns of this deck are always going to feel so tense. 2 Bear to snipe those swords, B-Prets, things like that. 2 copies of the Library, which I think is the better location to run in a deck like this. And 2 copies of Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom. 2 cost uninkable, gain 2 lore. How common is this going to become? At the moment, I would say I don't think too common. It will pop up every now and then. But again, like the more this pops up, the more decks start respecting it. But then if they start respecting it and building for it, they're often cutting consistency against like other decks. So I think aggro is going to be able to get away with a lot for a while. But yeah, Adam making top 8 with it, so congratulations to them. All right, moving on to our second event over in Italy, a 61-person Win an Enchanted Elsa tournament, so a huge prize. And in first place, we have Sadler HS. All these names, by the way, are just copied from whatever's on inkdex.com. But yeah, a super cool looking brew, very reminiscent of the first place list from DLC Bologna, who was utilizing the Maurice's Workshop and Queen engine. The Queen being a 3-cost inkable 3/3 quest for 1. Exert. On Exert, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Reveal an item you find and put it into your hand, but if it costs 3 or less, you can put it straight into play. And more often than not, our best hit off of this is going to be the 3-cost uninkable Maurice's Workshop. Whenever you play another item, you may pay 1 to draw a card, which can prove to be an incredible draw engine. Only 1 copy of Lucky Dime, I think, is super, super low. Most people play 2, and I saw, like, I spoke to a player who gave a strong argument for 3 during Bologna. I still think 2 is probably fine, but 1 seems not great, like, especially if you end up having to put it, I don't know, just if it's already at the bottom of your deck. You are filing things closer to the top every time you use something like the Queen. But also, like, if it gets removed by Kuzco or Hide Away, that's super scary, and I think it's really important. But just 1 copy here. The 4 Fishbone Quill, 4 Porp, 4 Ice Block that are going to get more characters into the range of Brawl. The 4 copies of we got a 4/4 Sisu line featuring the uninkable Daring Visitor. So that's going to be great. 2 copies of Vitalosphere, another great item, and can help us deal with locations and bigger bodies with a +2 and rush. 2 Shield of Virtue to be an additional item. Again, we want to maximize the odds of hitting off of the Queen, and this can be great just to re-ready characters and keep them safe. I'm running 2 copies of Fang Crossbow, 3-cost inkable item. It's got 2 abilities. You exert and pay 2. Chosen character gets -2 strength this turn, which gets more characters into the cards range of cards that care, like Brawl. And the other ability is you can exert it and banish it to banish a dragon character, which can be opposing Sisus and opposing Maleficents. So looking super good. 4 Let It Go for removal, 4 Brawl, which we mentioned, 2 Hide Away, which we're going to be scared of ourselves with our only 1 Lucky Dime. 4 Tamatara obviously makes it all fit together. Running 4 copies of Scuttle to help us find items. 2 copies of Gaston that can help against Flins and for Daisies and just help us against locations and stuff. 4 Flavisham, just 2 copies of Maui I do think is low as well. Yeah, I think 3 Maui is fine, but I still think it's an important card a lot of the time. 2 Vitalosphere does help. I think it's finding room for the second dime for me more than anything else. But other than that, looking super, super good. So congratulations to them. Going to second place, we have Emerald Steel, which was also second place in the last event that we looked at, and a very different build here. Also utilizing the Chief Boggo, though, so maybe something to be said for that. The Floodborn package, we've got a 4/4 Robin Hood. Yeah, 4/4 Robin Hood. We've got 4 Tragic Hero Beast, 4 Tinkerbell. We're also running the a 4/2 Diablo. Also got 4 copies of Morph in here to be another shift target for things, and we are utilizing 4 copies of the new Clarabelle, along with 4 of the 1-drop and 2 of of the 3-drop. I think the 1-drop is great for opposing items, and the 3-drop helps you stay out of range of certain things to help ensure that your Clarabelle survives a bit more, things like Storm and Teeth and Ambitions. But yeah, the Floodborn, at the end of your turn, if your opponent has more cards in the hand than you, then you draw to match them. So we're not playing a whole new world. Clarabelle is our main draw engine, other than things like Beast and Diablo potentially. But then 3 Storm, 4 Strength, 3 Zeus, 2 Bruno, just 1 Swords, and 2 copies of that hidden code, which again I think is how Diablo stays in the game. And again, it helps with Robin Hoods and Beasts, keeping the Mana Medusa, helps with a bunch of stuff. So yeah, another super good looking deck. I'm still not completely sold by Clarabelle. It's probably going to be my, like, where I'm the most wrong. She's still very good. I don't know. I'm just waiting for more players to kind of build for her. But maybe that's unnecessary. Yeah, that's probably my most incorrect take from my reviews of this set. Is probably the Clarabelle, who's probably going to end up being far better than I believed. But yeah, putting in a lot of work here. Deck looks good. Congratulations to them. Next up in top 4, we've got Valerio with some Ruby Amethyst, with most of this list looking pretty standard. We've got a 4 Chernabog, 3 Broom line, 4 Flynn, 4 Sisu, 4 Castle. We're on 4 B Prep. We're on 2 Medusa, 2 Tremaine, and 2 B King. So looking to hopefully have really good Sapphire Steel and Ruby Sapphire matchups. 4 Maleficent for that consistency. The full bounce package. No crabs though is the only thing I really like crab. But we are playing 4 of the 5th Spirit Elsa, 5-cost Inkable, 2/5 quest for 1, Rush, Evasive, and Exert a chosen character on play. And we're playing 1 copy of the Elsa Spirit of Winter, who is an 8-cost uninkable 4/6 quest for 3, shift 6, and on play, 2 characters become exerted and they can't ready at the start of their next turn. So this is great, coming back into decks courtesy of Blurple. But I think Ruby Amethyst may be utilising this. There's something to be said for it. And hey, if you are going to play this 5-cost Elsa, who I'm not sold on in Ruby Amethyst, I think she's great in EA Tempo. I think she's great in Blurple. And I think one of the reasons she's great is because it gives you an excuse to play this Floodborn. But if you like this in Ruby Amethyst, then absolutely, I think if you're playing at least 3 or 4 copies, then you should be finding room for 1 Elsa. I'm not sure if you need the 2 B King and the 2 Tremaine, although I completely get the temptation because that was me for most of set 4 format. Well, I was on 3 B King, 1 Tremaine, but I've come off of that a little bit. But maybe it is still right and did very well for Valerio. But yeah, this deck looks super good. I love the inclusion of this Elsa. It's like old times, back to chapter 1. But yeah, congratulations to them. In top 4, we've got Manfro with some Ruby Sapphire. A lot of similarities to the list that we looked at from the last event. We're seeing those 4 copies of Vision of the Future and 4 copies of Develop Your Brain. The last list was just a 3/3, but also utilising that. Running 3 copies of Hideaway as opposed to the split of 2 Kuzco and 1 Hideaway that was in the previous list. We're seeing those 2 Ice Block, 4 Porpisicle, 2 Dime, and 4 Quill. Those Ice Block going to assist the 2 Daring Visitor Sisu and 3 Empowered Sibling. We've got 4 Maleficent, 4 Tamatoa, 4 Flavisham, but we are also utilising the 5-cost Inkable Donald Duck, who's a 3/4 quest for 2 and on play, put the top card of your deck into your Inkwell faces face down and exerted. So Mickey's effect, but on a 5-cost Inkable body, which can be really cool. And we're also playing 3 copies of Chicha, 2-cost uninkable, 2/1 quest for 1, support, and during your turn, when you put a card into your Inkwell, if it's the second card you've put into your Inkwell this turn, you may draw a card. So obviously this being removed early feels super bad, but if she can, even if she sticks just for 1, then like that can be great. Like if you put her down on 2 and she survives until you get to 3, just you playing Fishbone and inking and then extra inking, you're already drawing the additional card. And if you can sit there like she can sing 1 jump ahead, not necessarily that you would want to, because you would want to like not make her even easier to remove, but in some worlds you won't mind. You'll just want the extra card drawer and you'll be so far ahead that you won't care. I do think there's a lack of 3 drops, only 2 Daring Visitor and the 4 Fishbone, which is obviously your preference. And of course, you can always just curve in different ways and play a 2 and a 1 drop on 3. I don't know. I just wonder if there's something to be said for adding the Detective Mickey in here. Because obviously just Mickey into Donald feels like quite a good curve, unless they're like aggro and you can't afford to take those 2 turns off to set yourself up better for the late game. So yeah, interesting. I really love the Visions of the Future. I think this is got a lot of potential to become a mainstay. And yeah, Cheetah is super powerful, but we haven't seen her a lot so far this meta, so we'll see if she gains popularity, but looks good. Congratulations to them. Also in top 8, we've got another Amber Emerald deck, courtesy of Mr. Breadfish. Also utilising that Under the Sea with the Kuda package, the Painting the Roses red. We are seeing 3 copies of the 1-drop Kuda, which wasn't in the previous list. We've got those 4 Muses for great synergy, 3 You Have Forgotten Me, 4 Bear, 4 Chill, 1 You're Welcome, and 4 We Don't Talk About Bruno. Also 1 copy of Flynn Rider to be a really aggressive quester for when we have hopefully emptied their hand. 4 copies of Prince John, 4 Ariel, most looking pretty standard here, but 1 copy of Anna, Diplomatic Queen, 3 cost uninkable 2/3, quest for 2, and on play you can pay another 2 ink to choose one of the following abilities. Either each opponent chooses and discards a card, chosen character gets +2 strength this turn, or banish a chosen damaged character. I do quite like her as a one-off. She's flexible. Again, if you've got John down and they're discarding and you're drawing a card, I think the +2 strength is going to be relevant the least amount of the time, but sometimes it will and you'll be glad to have it. But the immediate banish a damaged character I think is really good. We've got Bruno and You're Welcome to instantly remove things that we're really worried about that we can't necessarily, like maybe we're missing the Under the Sea or we're missing the Kuda to get that online. So this is another way of doing it I think is really good in this deck. I'd like to see the Hidden Cove in here, but other than that, deck looks really good, so congratulations to them. Next up in top 8, we've got Marl 5 with some Amethyst Steel Jafar. We saw an Emerald Jafar do very well in Toronto, and hey, even in the set 5 meta, I can't believe which event it was. I think it was my second set of deck lists for set 5, but we saw a Jafar list looking quite similar to this do very well then. Obviously Jafar Striking Illusionist, while exerted, whenever you draw you gain 1 lore, so hoping to get off a big Whole New World turn. We're not playing Second Star to the Right in this particular build, but Whole New World can help us draw. We've got Friends, the Jafar Dreadnought can, as well as being a shift target, can draw us cards, and Maleficent can draw us cards. We've got 4 of the 2-drop Raw Vizier, 4 of the Dreadnought. Those are our shift targets for the Striking Illusionist. Running a 4/4 Robin Hood line because it's nice to be able to have multiple characters down that can, you sing 1 Jafar, 1 Whole New World with Jafar, draw 7, and then you draw into another whole world, and hopefully you've got a Robin Hood who can sing the other one, or an Archimedes, which we're running a 4/4 line of, the 1-drop being a 2/2, and the Floodborn being a 5-cost inkable 1/4, quest for 2, shift 3, evasive, and challenger 3. So even just as a singer, this is a fantastic ad. Just 2 Fox, yeah, it's probably fine actually. Like someone actually commented recently on, I think it was my personal Jafar list that I made before decklists even started, like event decklists even started coming out, and someone was saying that the bounce package isn't really needed in this particular style of deck, which I think is probably right, and it's probably, I would lean more in this direction in the future. 2 Baboom, 2 Smash, 3 Zeus, 2 Grab Your Swords. Deck looks saucy, and 3 Pete as well to hopefully provide some assurance to the survival of our Jafar. Love this list. Congratulations to them. And our last 2 lists are both SteelSong. In top 8, we have Gioia. I'm probably saying that wrong. Apologies, but another great representation for SteelSong. And this version is rocking Lorcana Dale, Rockin' Rooster, 4-cost inkable 2/3, quest for 2. Whenever you play a song, gain 1 lore. I'm super high on Lorcana Dale. This is definitely the way I would build my SteelSong decks in the future. I think it's much better than Flute. We are running 3 Piglets, be another aggressive quester. No Ursa Deceivers in here. Instead, we've got 3 Ballroom Sensation Cinderella to sing songs and 1 copy of the Stout-Hearted. Running a 4/4 Queen line, 4/4 Robin Hood. We've got those 4 Rapunzel, 4 Pete to shut down actions, 4 Smee, Ariel, 2 Lawrence, 2 Bare Necessities, 2 World's Greatest Criminal Mind to work with the Queen. Pretty standard songs, except for the 2 copies of I Find 'Em, I Flatten 'Em, which we do see occasionally, but not all the time. 4-cost inkable, banish all items, which is really going to help you against the Sapphire deck. So yeah, super good looking build. I'm really high on the Lorcana Dale for SteelSong, so congratulations to them. And our final list of the video, we have V Vincent with some more SteelSong. They're playing those 4 Daisy Duck, which were not in the previous list. Should have mentioned that. That's a bit of a surprise. I do think she's super good. But yeah, this list utilising them. We're seeing no Queen line in this list. Just the 4/4 Robin Hood. 4 Ballroom Sensation Cinderella, but no shift target. We are seeing the 3 Ursula Vanessa. No Flute, but still a good addition just to have these songs on, more of these songs online more often than not. 4 Lorcana Dale again in this list. 3 copies of the Prince Naveen, who on play lets you play a song of 6 or less, and he is a singer 6. decks, 2 copies of Perdita, who on play and on quest lets you take a character from your discard of 2 or less and put it into play for free. So get back that Daisy, that Piglet, that Ursa Deceiver, that Robin Hood, whatever it is you like. 2 copies of the World's Greatest Criminal Mind. Even without Queen, there are targets for this. Tamatoa is a big one, Maui, Maleficent, Big Sisu, and then we've got 4 Storm, 4 Rage, 3 Zeus, 4 Whole New World, and 2 Grab Your Swords. Looking super, super good. I love the Lorcana Dale, as I said. Congratulations to them. And that is it for our 2 sets of top 8 deck lists for quite sizable set 5 events. As I said at the beginning, I will have my eyes firmly on inkdecks.com until the rest of the deck lists come out for the significantly larger events, because that will certainly be interesting data to take a look at. And then, yeah, as I said, as we get closer to the 21st and 22nd, the weekend of the next DLC, I'm going to look to do a hopefully a more informative data video, or we'll break down that how many of each list we're seeing, and like, are they going this way or this way more often than not, and hopefully that can provide some value, so stay tuned for that. But that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana, hit that like button to show your support, and we'll see you soon.